There are children born with crowns, others with songs, and some are born with silence around them. But once in a generation, a child is born with 2 heads, and the world holds its breath. The village of Yumyadike lay quiet, too quiet for a night when a child was about to be born. No songs, no ululations, no fires burning outside. The moon, that eternal witness to the stories of the land, did not rise silver and soft as it normally did. Instead it rose red, a swollen, bleeding orb that hovered above the palm trees like a warning drum in the sky. The old women whispered among themselves as they closed their doors. The last time the moon bled, the sacred tree split. The gods are watching tonight. In a hut near the edge of the village, far from the compound of chiefs, a young girl lay on a mat of woven banana leaves, her legs trembling, soaked in sweat, her eyes full of terror. She was Mbik, daughter of the late herbalist woman who had died from snakebite the previous year. Her stomach swelled unnaturally, as if her womb carried more than flesh and blood. She screamed, and the sound was not one of normal birth. It was raw, animal. It clawed the night like a spirit breaking through a doorway that was never meant to open. The midwife, Mama Igioma, was sweating more than the girl. She chanted softly, placing her charms at the 4 corners of the hut. Cowries, black soap, kola nut, red sand. But the air would not settle. The fire flickered violently, shadows bending backward like they were resisting something. Narrator voice darkens. Some children fight their way into the world. Others are pulled by unseen hands. With one final push, Mbik screamed and collapsed into silence. The child was born. Mama Igioma rushed forward, expecting to swaddle the child and clear its mouth as she'd done for 20 seasons. But what she saw stopped her breath. The cloth parted. 2 heads. 2 full heads. One turned to the right, the other to the left. One cried out, shrill human. The other remained silent, its eyes wide, unblinking, focused. Mama Igioma stumbled back. Yezu. Chinik, what is this? She gasped. Her hands trembled as she made the sign of the cross and reached for her protective necklace of bitter leaves and salt. She looked to Mbik, who lay still, breathing shallowly. Mbik, the midwife whispered. Your son, he carries 2 heads. Mbik blinked once, then closed her eyes. Her lips moved, not in prayer, but in rejection. Take it away. Candle, the village whispers. By dawn the news had spread. Even before the cocks crowed, the old women were whispering at their clay pots. The men gathered in small groups, speaking in low tones. And by sunrise, Chief Udena summoned the council of elders. In the village square beneath the great Irako tree, they sat in a circle. At the center was the child, wrapped in white cloth, his 2 heads peeking out like twin suns from a cursed dawn. Naani, the blind seer who hadn't left his shrine in 6 years, was brought in by his grandson. He sat quietly. Then he spoke. This child is not ordinary. His coming was seen. 2 heads, 2 destinies. 2 spirits in one flesh. This child is not meant for your hands. The priest of Allah, goddess of the earth, stepped forward with fire in his eyes. He is an Ojagwu, an abomination. He brings chaos, death, famine, a hush. Even the birds refused to sing. Mbik was brought out, her face veiled, her eyes empty. She did not speak. Not once. Not even when the verdict came. The child must be abandoned. Let the forest take him, or the gods will. 2 young men, Chidi and Ikin, both barely older than boys, were ordered to take the child to the outskirts near Aho Stream. Aho Stream was cursed ground. No one fished there. No children played near its banks. It was said to be watched by something older than the gods. The boy was placed in a shallow basket lined with raffia and goat skin. Beside him they placed a carved wooden idolnzu, the protector of unwanted children. They left him at the edge of the water. 2 heads. One silent, one alert. The breeze picked up. Leaves rustled unnaturally, though no animals moved. One of the men glanced back and froze. The second head of the child was staring at him, eyes wide still, glowing faintly under the blood-red dawn. "Let's go," Ekin whispered. "Now." They ran. But the boy was not alone. Something shifted in the woods. A shadow darker than night moved just beyond the trees. It had no feet, no clear face, only a long robe of mist and feathers, and a mask, carved from the skull of an ancient lion. The spirit floated toward the boy and hovered. Then it whispered. At last. The one with the double vision. You were not rejected. You were delivered. The river whispered back. The child did not cry. Instead, the second head smiled faintly. In the heart of the forest, time forgets itself. Names become echoes. And children, if they survive, become legends. Evergreen tree into the wild. The forest did not welcome him, tolerated him, like a mother who never wanted a child, yet couldn't bring herself to kill it. The trees swayed with no wind. The roots twisted unnaturally, like old men rolling in their graves. The sky above Aho Forest was always gray, even when the sun rose. He had no name, only a memory of cloth, of silence, of voices that once debated his fate and turned away. The boy walked. At times one head slept while the other kept watch. At night he curled beneath roots, eating raw leaves and drinking from puddles where ants floated. Birds did not sing near him. Monkeys shrieked when he passed. But he did not cry. He had learned from birth. The world had no pity. Only eyes. Too many eyes. Wind faced the first whisper. It was on the 7th night, beneath the twisted baobab, that he first heard them. Not birds. Not animals. Voices. But not from mouths. They came from the wind, from the soil, from the stones. Faint whispers like breathless prayers. He walks. He carries the mark. 2 heads. 1 path. He turned. Both heads listened. Nothing behind. Nothing ahead. Yet the whispers continued. That night he dreamed. Thought balloon dreams of the old mask. In the dream the sky opened. Not like a wound but like an eye. A golden eye with a slit pupil that pulsed with fire. And from the eye descended a being, cloaked in smoke, feathers, and ivory. It wore a mask, half lion, half human. It walked without touching the ground. Child of dust, it said, do not eat the living fruit. Sleep where the shadows bend. Listen only to the silence that screams. Then it reached forward and touched his second head. And the forest burst into flames. He woke with a gasp. Both heads screaming. The fire was not real. But the scent of ash lingered. Paw prints, markings in the soil. Days passed. He survived on roots and fallen palm kernels. He followed streams and the humming of insects. But then he noticed something. Symbols began to appear in the dirt. Not drawn by man but revealed. Swirls. Circles. Ancient Nsibidi scripts that shimmered faintly under moonlight. He began to understand them. Not through language but through his second head. It seemed to read meanings buried deeper than letters. Warnings. Paths, answers. One symbol kept reappearing. A flame with an open eye. He followed it. Fire, the voice without a mouth. One dusk, beneath the weight of a thundercloud, he stumbled into a strange clearing. There at the center stood a tall wooden statue. It had no mouth. Only 2 wide eyes carved from obsidian. Its arms were crossed. Its chest bore the symbol. As he stepped closer, the air grew heavy. Then, Voices flooded his mind. Not one. Many. We see. He hears. The oracle awakens. His knees buckled. His hands trembled. And his second head began to cry. Not in fear but in recognition. Then the statue blinked. High voltage, the ancestral test. That night, the ground beneath him trembled. A hole opened. And he fell. He tumbled into blackness, hitting no surface, hearing no echo, only drums. When he landed, he stood in a cavern lit by no fire, but glowing with light from the bones of ancient kings. Figures stood in a circle, faceless, robed, floating. One stepped forward. Its mask was carved from termite wood and crowned with feathers. "Child of rejection," it said, "you have entered the mouth of trial. The trial of silence. The trial of hunger. The trial of bone." One by one they tested his mind, spirit, and memory. They fed him poison truth. They buried him in old memories. They asked him questions without words, and he answered without speaking. And when he survived, they bowed. The one with two heads. The one with double sight. You shall not be pitied. You shall not be feared. You shall be used. They placed a glowing stone in each of his palms, and vanished. Full moon the emergence. When he awoke he was back at the forest floor. But now his eyes had changed. One eye saw the present. The other saw what could be. He stood taller. He walked differently. Now when he passed the birds they sang. The trees whispered to him. The wind carried his name, though he still had none. He was becoming something else. Some destinies do not ride on horses. They crawl through the mud. They bleed through the roots of forgotten trees. And when they rise they do not walk like men. They walk like spirits. He was no longer just a boy. He was a question the world could no longer ignore. Every forest hides a heart. Every path has its secret destination. And for the boy with two heads, the journey had only just begun. Evergreen tree deeper into the forest. The air grew heavier the farther he walked. No more whispering trees. No glowing insects. No birdsong. Just silence, deep and layered, like cloth woven over centuries. It had been 3 nights since the trial beneath the earth. He did not sleep now. He wandered, as though drawn by something older than himself. The roots of the trees grew thicker, coiling into walls. The ground pulsed faintly beneath his bare feet, as if the earth itself had a heartbeat. His second head turned sharply, then both heads looked up. Above the canopy, a shaft of golden light broke through the clouded sky, pointing downward like a divine finger. And at the end of the light, hidden by branches, stones, and shadow, stood the shrine. It was not a temple built by man. It was older than the village, older than language, perhaps even older than the gods themselves. Its stones were cracked and blackened with ash. Its entrance shaped like an open eye. Its floor was layered with bones, small ones, large ones, arranged in circles like forgotten prayers. Carved masks hung from the trees, swaying with no wind. They had no eyes, no mouths, only holes, voids, where expressions used to be. And in the center of the shrine was a seat of fire. Not flame, but fire in the shape of a throne, flickering with memory and ash. The boy stepped forward, and the fire whispered his name. They had waited for him. They had built this place in dreams. For the one with vision not born of sight, but of pain. Fire the guardian appears. The fire parted like a curtain. From within, a figure emerged, tall, androgynous, robed in smoke and woven hair. Its head was wrapped in bark and feathers. Its eyes were flames. And where a mouth should have been, there was only a smooth plate of gold. The boy did not flinch. Both heads looked upward. The spirit raised its arm and pointed at him with fingers made of bone and lightning. You have two heads because the world has two truths. Its voice echoed inside him, not outside. One truth is what men see. The other is what the spirits remember. The fire circled the boy, forming a ring. The masks hanging above began to chant, silent chants, heard only in the soul. The spirit lifted its hand again. Suddenly, the ground split. The boy dropped into darkness. And then, he was elsewhere. He stood in a circle of mirrors. Each mirror showed a version of himself. One with only one head, dressed as a king. One with two heads, crying and bound in chains. One with no heads, floating. And one mirror showed him as he was now, but covered in blood, holding a child who called him father. Choose, the voice echoed. Which is truth? He walked to the mirror that showed him weeping, in chains. Pain is truth, he said. But pain can be worn as a crown. The mirror cracked open. He was now standing waist deep in a glowing river. Faces floated past, his mother's weeping, his father's turning away, the villagers pointing, his own face, both heads drowning. He felt a weight in his chest. He reached down and pulled out a beating heart, not his but the village's. Do you forgive? He looked at the heart. Then he let it fall into the river. Not yet. The river stilled. The water turned gold. And the faces smiled. He stood again in the shrine. The fire spoke. You must be named, or you will remain a whisper in the wind. A scroll appeared, written in a language that moved like water. Speak your name. He opened his mouth. No sound came. But the second head, his silent twin, began to speak. I am Nadi, the one who does not die, the one who remembers. And with that, flames rose. The shrine lit up. The forest roared. A beam of light shot into the sky. The masks fell. And the spirit knelt. Then rise, oracle. Your eyes now see beyond time. The fire condensed into a single stone. The spirit placed it between both of his heads. Into the space where their thoughts met. He convulsed. Flashed. Saw visions. Gold beneath mud. Oil under sleeping trees. Kings lying. Soldiers marching. A village kneeling. A woman crying in a palace. A second birth. Then darkness. When he woke he was alone. The shrine was still. The masks were gone. The fire was cold ash. But he was different. His second head pulsed with light. He now heard things others did not. Saw paths others could not. Felt futures others feared. He had been awakened. Not just a child. Now an oracle. There are those born to survive. And there are those born to see. But once in 1,000 moons, one is born to do both. And such a one cannot be ignored, only awaited. When a spirit opens your eyes, the world does not change, you do. And once changed, you can never return to blindness. Cyclone the path back. The boy, now named Nadi, walked out of the shrine as the light of dawn cracked across the forest floor like lightning frozen in amber. But the forest had changed. The trees bowed slightly. The leaves whispered in rhythm. Even the silence hummed with a different tone, lower, reverent. He was no longer just surviving. He was being guided. Each step he took was steady. The ground beneath his feet did not resist. Roots untwisted before him. Thorns softened. The spirits that had once watched him from afar now walked alongside him. Not visible, but present. He was not alone. Crystal Ball knew sight. His first vision came 3 days later. He stood at the edge of a ravine, hungry and faint. Suddenly, both his heads tilted back. Eyes rolled white. He collapsed to the ground and gasped. He saw a palm tree fall in a village he had never visited. Beneath its roots, gold coins buried deep, glimmering in shadow. When he awoke, the ground where he fell was warm. He dug. 7 ancient cowrie coins, blackened with time, waited beneath the earth. A gift. Studio microphone narrator whispered. He no longer needed roads. He walked on omens. The return to the shrine, 1 moon later. The spirits called him back. This time the path appeared like smoke. When he reached the shrine, it was alive, glowing brighter, its carvings now pulsing with Nsibidi symbols. The throne of fire had become a circle of mirrors, and in the center stood a new figure. She was masked. Her voice sounded like a girl and an old woman speaking at once. You have seen what sleeps beneath the world. But do you know what sleeps within yourself? Nadi stood quietly. Both heads bowed. Your gift is not for your revenge. It is for the turning of nations. You will become a gate through which many shall walk. But first you must learn disguise. The spirit raised its hands. Power without patience becomes poison. 6 spirits emerged, each bearing a mask. Each mask represented a face of the world. The warrior strength, pride, conquest. The healer compassion, hidden pain. The fool distraction, survival. The merchant wealth, cunning. The ghost memory, trauma. The shadow secrets, silence. They circled Nadi. Each spirit pressed a mask to his chest. Each time a symbol appeared on his skin, one for each persona he would someday wear. You will walk among men, the voice said. But you will not be seen for what you are. Not until the earth is ready. He was being trained, not in weapons but in spirit, in disguise, in foresight. He was becoming a god hidden in the body of a boy. On the final night of his second stay in the shrine, a map appeared. Not drawn on paper, but on the floor of the forest itself, carved by fire ants, shaped by roots, and lit by moonlight. Nadi saw a pattern. Symbols. Rivers. Buried truths. The shrine had shown him where oil slept beneath dry lands, where minerals hid beneath famished villages, where kings kept the bones of their enemies. He did not smile. He simply memorized. The world is blind, said the spirits. You shall be their second eyes. Hourglass done, time passes. He stayed in the shrine for 7 seasons. 7 years to villagers. But to the spirits time bends. In the outside world drought came. Famine swept the village. Wars were whispered. Kingdoms shifted. But Nadi remained hidden, growing in silence, learning the speech of stones, understanding the movement of greed. One final night the shrine glowed black. All the spirits stood in a wide circle. Each gave him a gift. Fire from below the earth to warm or to destroy. Salt from the ocean of silence, to preserve what is pure. Ash from forgotten kings, to remember the cost of power. A mask of gold and charcoal to walk as. One of them unseen. A calabash of dreams, to drink when truth fades. A name written in shadow, to be spoken only once, at the end. Then the spirit of the oracle stepped forward one last time. Your village will call you stranger. Your enemies will call you demon. The world will call you king. But we call you seer of the split path. And with that he turned, and walked into the night. Some children are raised by mothers, others by fire. And when fire teaches you to see, your footsteps become prophecy. Nadi was no longer lost. He had become the echo of a god, and the world would soon tremble at his silence.